In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening and welcome to America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King, and tonight we continue our mission of exploring voices that challenge, inspire, and transform. On this December 4th, Season 3, Episode 163, we are joined by a man whose journey embodies resilience, artistry, and truth, Tyree Hughey. Known as Sincere on the mic, Tyree is a multidisciplinary artist, author, therapist, and researcher whose work blends social commentary, raw storytelling, and bold visual language. His creations confront systems, elevate community voices, and expose truths often ignored. As a survivor of domestic violence, Tyree channels his lived experience into healing and teaching, using art and therapy as tools for transformation. His nine-book Climate, Culture, and Consciousness series and Poverty Pimpin' collection stands as a testament to his commitment to justice, research, and cultural change. Guiding his vision are the towering influences of Black history, James Baldwin, Marcus Garvey, and W.E.B. Du Bois, whose words and legacies continue to shape his mission. Tonight, we'll explore his life story, his work as a therapist, his artistry, his authorship, and historical figures who inspired this path. This is more than an interview, it's a conversation about healing, creativity, and legacy. Stay with us because this promise to be a powerful and unforgettable dialogue. This is America in Black and White, and I am introducing you guys to Tyree Hughey. Welcome to the show, sir. Mr. Hughey. Hello? Mr. Hughey. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now I can hear you.
I don't know. That was strange. Okay. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Oh, okay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience before we jump into the show?
No, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here, speak with you guys. Thank you for reaching out. I just really appreciate it.
Well, let me start, with the work you do as a therapist in mental health. Can you tell us what inspired you to pursue your work in mental health?
Honestly just my family. My family was big on giving back, supporting people in the community. They were always taking in anybody, other kids in the community. They always called my mom, my grandmother, their grandmother. Always had me in the community doing soup kitchens, always giving back. So I kind of just had that knack from there. I have other social workers in my family, so I I kind of just followed on their path. Big on community organizing, doing events. I was raised in a church, and even still doing that. We got toy drives coming up, Christmas drives, turkey drives, and we just always been in the giving spirit. So I just kind of, my family kind of, just growing up in the atmosphere.
So, how does your personal journey as a survivor shape your approach to therapy?
I think it helps you to be able to relate, resonate, but then also be able to hold people accountable. I think it's very different when you have those real conversations, when you have had loss. My father's been in prison since I was 9. I'm 41 today. So that's a life of, not having a father around, physically, but talking through him through, through the phone, visits, things of that nature. Just growing up in the community, just having lots of friends, and just things of that nature, and just being able to find your own way. For me, as a kid, I struggled with reading, writing. I had some issues with the anger fighting, dealing with racism at a very early age. Moving from a predominantly cultural town in Connecticut to a predominantly white town, and being the only person of color for a couple years in my own grade levels. So just the shock of dealing with those type of things, being targeted by teachers at a very young age, because of the color of my skin, and my family having to deal with that, being there to support for me, be a support for me in that fashion. And these are stories that I share with my youth today, and just anybody who wants to have a good conversation and listen, and just being that person, you wish you kind of had when you were a kid. I think that's the other thing, or just wish you had when you were going through something.
Right.
We don't always have the supports, and sometimes we're left in our own silos, and we're trying to find our own way out, and we make mistakes along the way. So I think it's a breathing, living, running document of your life that you can kind of give back to pieces, within reason.
So, what challenges do you see most often in the communities you serve?
Generational trauma is huge. Just what's been passed down from family, just doing those things, substance use. But everyone is trying to find their path. Regardless of dealing with those things, you see people always trying to be a parent, trying to be a family member to someone else. But those are one of the biggest things. And right now, food scarcity. Just not having jobs, not having an opportunity to get certain things because of, I might have, messed up when I was a kid. I might have messed up when I was younger, but not getting the opportunities to really have the jobs, really pay for, your rent on time, or just pay to have the bills and things that you need. And that also deals with its own level of trauma that no one really speaks about when kids go to school, and how they don't have what some other people have. They have the latest Jordans or whatever else. They're coming in with some sneakers from, Walmart, Target, and that's another set of things that parents have to face along with their kids when they don't have. So I think just collectively, between the violence in the community, broken homes, mental health that's gone undiagnosed, or mental health that people don't want to go see anybody because they get over medicated, or the stigma to do with mental health when it comes to people of color, just because of how we've been treated in the mental health facilities, how we've been treated in doctors' offices. Black maternal health is huge right now, and that's something that, when for whatever reason, for our black women, they have a higher mortality rate when giving birth, because people who don't look like us think we can always handle more, or they just look at us differently because of what society is portrayed in the news. So we deal with a lot more.
Mhm. So, do you specialize your therapy, or is your therapy kind of like just open?
I want to meet people where they are, but for the basics, for people who are listening, cognitive behavioral therapy. I usually work with kids who, probation, parole, been through those situations, detention, in and out of those type of high risk situations. So CBT is very huge. Cognitive behavior therapy. Sorry for the acronym. Motivational interviewing, and just kind of having that process of, what are your goals? How do we get there? And what are you doing within your own? What's stopping you from reaching your goals? And kind of building out your cycle. I've been an MST therapist. I've been an in-home therapist. Right now, I'm a director for group homes with children here in Connecticut. And just having those real life conversations, but you have to have the modalities, whether it's dialectical behavioral therapy. That's regulating your emotions. How do you handle that? How do you deal with distress tolerance? How do we build those capacities for our youth that don't have that, especially with coming from a background of a lot of trauma, um, in their lives.
Mhm. So, with that being said, 'cause that's pretty interesting. And are you finding it that even though you're specialized with the youth and so forth, I mean, are there like severe cases of the trauma, or are these like some onsets of some things that are just manageable that the therapy can help them out really quickly?
It's across the board. It's things that are manageable. You're just working with them on. I can give examples. Sometimes, it's taking a youth a year and a half to just gain trust with people because they've been abandoned so much. They've had some of these issues of adults treating them wrong, abusing them in different ways. But even right down to we see with the kids. But even like I'm big on family engagement. I'm big on fatherhood engagement. Even when we're dealing with the families, we see the same things within those parents because they didn't get the help that they needed or they're scared to get the help. It just again, generational trauma is huge. So it's a wide range, and I think too in this field, you got to understand that you just have to show up every day, and every day you might not have a victory, but those victories come. And that every day you just got to keep showing up. You might have a couple losses. You might have a kid who, out of nowhere, just messes up for something that you can't help them and keep them out of. But those kids come back to you later on. I've had so many kids come back to me 4 or 5 years later on, just saying like, "You are the reason why I'm doing better. I got jammed up. I had these issues, but because you always talked to me, you treated me like I was a human. You were always there for me, no matter what. No matter if I was being a knucklehead, no matter if I was being disrespectful to people, you always like, hey, you can have your moments. I'm gonna be here, but we're not gonna. You can't talk like that to people. This is the behavior that gets you jammed up. And I think that they appreciate that, and they might have to hit rock bottom first to then realize that people who are around them are trying to help them and telling them because they've gone through those things. They know the traps that people set. So I think it's a combination of all the things.
Mhm. So how do you integrate art into your therapeutic practice?
Man, I think that's the beautiful thing about how it's probably odd to say, but how trauma um, impacts us in a creative way, in a creative spirit. And I think kids, people in general, I'll take kids out of it. Kids, adults, whoever, it's just a therapeutic tool to help you just to release in the moment. Whether it's you writing a short story, whether it's putting down poems, whether it's making music, whether it's just the artwork in general, you get to tell a story in your own creative way. What does this picture resonate with you? What is the idea behind it? And it helps them settle their mind and just thinking about, I'm going to focus on this thing, not let my mind wander, but how can I create something beautiful in this and give meaning and give meaning and resonate with other folks. I think the biggest thing that we do here is we run our art galleries. We come, the kids present their stuff, I have my stuff, and the people in the community go and they walk around and they look at each piece of artwork and we ask them, what does this evoke from you? What is the feeling, emotion behind that? And the kids get to interact with people and doing those different things and having that open dialogue. And they always come away with I would have never thought looking at that person in a three-piece suit that they went through some trauma or they've had a hard life. I would never assume that. And they were just like, he's just like me. She's just like me. And I think the beautiful thing too is when you have people of all colors come around. And what I've noticed when I think has been a good thing is that there's been more white folks who have come around and they're willing to have the open, honest dialogue conversation. That's helped kids even be wanting to trust and even look at them a little bit differently. Because I have kids who come in like, I'm not trusting that white person. They remind me of every other authority figure that's held me back or took me away from my mother, my father. And I think them getting to see that in a different light and also hearing their own stories helps. But in the day and age we live in right now, that's hard. And I think people on both sides are scared to have those conversations.
Mm. So, what role does storytelling play in healing trauma?
Oh man, that's something that's phenomenal in itself. I think when you get to even for people who don't want to tell their story because they're not ready yet, they can use fantasy. They can use different characters, and it helps them kind of heal. It helps them kind of have the conversation when they start writing it out and they see the words behind it. It sits with them. I've had kids adults also, who've come in. They've cried and said, "I was writing this." And I cried for 2 or 3 days just thinking about this. Like I've gone through so much, but I want to be able to help tell my story so it helps somebody else who was scared to speak up, who was scared to talk when they were being hurt, when they were having these things happen to them. So I think just in their own way, it allows them to be able to release. to have those moments, but also come back bigger and better. Like when you get to be able to write out your story and you're noticing where you messed up or when you did something wrong or how you could handle something better, I think that's the most beautiful experience for anybody to have. Even for me, it took me a while to write my story. Um, and I've had those moments when, I've had to sit down, just sit in my feelings and my emotions. I had to let it out. And finally letting it, as a man crying for like the first time 5 years ago, letting that out was very powerful for me and just in general. And I've shared that story with multiple people.
Oh, wow. Wow. So, Mr. Huey, what is your motivation?
I think it's twofold. I'm inspired. I always do everything for my daughter. Um, so my daughter is always something that motivates me of just wanting her to have more better than what I've had, but also just learn from my mistakes. We are not, no one's perfect. I've made plenty of mistakes. And I always want to talk to her in a way of just like, I understand what you're saying. I understand how that feels. But let's look at this a different way so that you don't have that same feeling happen again. How do we avoid some of these issues? So I think just that in general. But I think honestly, the pandemic happened, and man, I'll tell you, I think that was my moment with God and just having those conversations. And I felt this pull to I was doing the wrong thing. And I kept having these dreams of just, nope, you I need you to write this. I need you to talk about this. I need you to do those things. And I was somebody in the beginning, I'm like, but why me? And I asked that for a very long time. Like, you sure you want me to do this? I played football. I had my own issues. Like me, so I just I want to be honest. Like I went through that, and it was just like no, like you just have a gift. And I got back into what I stopped doing when I was, in my teenage years, my early 20s. I used to draw all the time. I used to create artwork. I used to write stories, and I got right back into it. And I was just getting into a lens of I need to just, I'm going around, I'm giving people the opportunity to tell their story in a healthy way to help other people heal and learn from their own stuff. Because we always feel like it's always only happening to us. We always feel like ain't nobody else got it worse than me. There's always somebody who has it worse than us, regardless of what we're going through. And I think that's the powerful thing about it. And just being able to tell my story. I'm just starting. So I think that in itself has just been a powerful tool for me. And seeing the people in the community, like even tonight, I'm doing a paint night for people in the community. And they're just having a good time and just sharing stories and creating artwork that they love. And people from all different walks of life just coming together and just sharing those moments and having the artwork on the wall. Okay, this is some of my artwork, but what drives you to create something? What would you want to create today? So I just think in general that's just been a blessing, and I think I'm just on a path of I know I'm a storyteller. I'm pretty good at it. I want to get better. I think I can get a lot better. I'm infusing music with it. So I want my passion. Like I want to be able when I tell a story, I want you to be able to see the artwork. I want you to be able to read the story, but I want the music to go with it. So I always work in three-prong approach with coming to anything. So how do we hit you in different senses so that we can get you to really I want you to feel something. I want you to be able to move. I don't want to just have I don't want to write just to write.
So I've got a comment here in the chat. I'm going to put it on the screen, and if you'd like to respond to it, you can. This is from Lorenzo Carswell. It says, "Great conversation and awareness of authentic issues and how we can deal with them."
I think that's we have to just be real about what our circumstances are and what's happening. People want honest conversation, whether it's good or bad. Even in my leadership role, I give them the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think transparency is the best, not honesty. Honesty means I gotta ask you, you're gonna give me an honest answer. Transparency means you're gonna give it. I'm just gonna give you what you need to know.
Right.
You don't have to ask me. So I think that's the thing that people are looking for, even with our government. You're causing so much confusion that no one wants to trust anybody. You're creating division by doing silly behavior when it's just like just have the conversation. We are doing this because of this. This might work, it might not work. People are going to respect you a whole lot more to sit there and say, this is my plan of action, this is how I'm going to go about it, here are the steps, here how I'm going to try to reach it. And along the way being able to correct yourself,
Mhm.
being able to walk in front of somebody and say, hey, you know what, I did my 30, 60, 90. I had to do an efficacy check at the 45-day mark. I noticed that the data wasn't matching up to what we needed. So something that I put together wasn't working. I had to come back and look and reevaluate where I was at. These are the pros and the cons. This is what's working well over here. This isn't. How do we change that? And that's how leadership should be run. It should be run off of not fear of how people are going to respond, but I need you to trust me and understand. I'm not. We I think we put people on pedestals and they feel like they're godlike and they act in that behavior. Nah, we're gonna make a lot of mistakes and we need to understand that. How do we get better as a whole? How do we get better together?
you know, I'm just gonna do this plug real quick. I need you to be on Final Word Friday. We're doing a new segment next season on Final Word
Okay.
Fridays, where we talk about hot topics or whatever you like to talk about. That would be something good to talk about because you're definitely on to something that's real, definitely real.
Absolutely, brother. Anytime you need me, brother, I'll be here.
So, how do you help clients build resilience?
I always tell them that I'm not scared to fail. Failure is what's gonna make you better. So understand that you need to fail. Don't be scared of that. Stop thinking you need to be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. You can get better and better every day. So I think for me, it's just like cool. You call them lapse, relapse. You know what? I have kids. They get high. They do this vaping. Vaping is is just the worst thing, just because of the metal you're breathing. I have an issue with that, but I understand why they're using it to cope. But how do we replace what you're trying to cope with? So what is the issue that you're facing? Are you missing your family? Did someone pass away? Are you just mad about how you treat yourself? So how do we get those tools built inside of you so that you can do that? And one of the we had I'll share a story real quick. Had a kid who was always he was meant to be a leader, but he was always following. I never understood why. He was always getting A's and B's, always getting class, but for whatever reason, certain group of friends will call him. He's going off. They're stealing cars. They're breaking into place. I'm like, but this is not even you. Like I started to have those conversations with him, and literally after 6 months, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm not trying to go back to detention." He's like, "I'm not trying to live that. Like, I don't want nobody telling me what to do, how to get up, when to get up." And I was just like, "But you're so smart. You have everything going for you. Why were you doing that?" He was just like, "I just wanted to feel accepted. I feel accepted by because they're calling me to be a part of something. I don't have other people calling me to hang out. I don't have other people wanting to do stuff. The people who I'm around, they're doing negative things." He's like, and it was taking me a while. And honestly, kids are so stuck on perception of how things look because of social media, because of whatever else. They think the kid getting all the good grades, that's the cornball kid. That's the kid who's probably going to be a millionaire, going to have a big house, doing all the other things, while we're going to be sitting here trying to work these jobs, not making any money. So I just having that kind of thought process just to change that. You can be dressed nice, you can be cool, you can have all the stuff and still get good grades and go to college and still or and my thing too is college or career, whatever your path you choose, just make sure you have the path. And a lot of kids, I would tell them, go to a technical school. If you can graduate high school, you can get into electrician, you can get into plumbing, you can get into a union, man, you'll be making a lot more money than adults working 9 to 5 on a daily basis. You'll be 18, 19, 20, 21 years old.
I have another comment here by Lorenzo Carswell. I'll put it on the screen. He says, "Love your influence through your family. By example," he says, "My kids have worked with me in community services and chat and other business ventures." He says, "Keep up the good work, young man."
I'll take that. Thank you. I'll take the young man part too. I feel old. I'll take the young man part.
Yeah. So, what misconceptions about therapy do you often encounter?
That it makes you weak. Um, Especially for our boys, they feel it's not merely to talk about their feelings. They gotta keep it in. They need to be ultra bravado, ultra aggressive. That's one thing. Um, it's not a misconception. It's just what reality based and what we've been through as people of color. Just in general, just like we're not trusting somebody who doesn't look like us. You're not gonna understand what I go through. You're not gonna understand the plies of the. You're not gonna understand how I feel because you can't relate to me in a certain way. Now, there's not to say that there are people who are white who are pretty good at their job that they can therapy is just therapy, you can make it work. But sometimes you need somebody who looks like you, who resonates with you, who understands the culture a lot better, who understands. I think how Denzel said it. He said, "Yeah, you know what a hot comb is, but do you know how the hot comb is supposed to sound?
Ah,
The sizzle, how it's supposed to touch. There's a different, there's a different feel behind it. You just because you read it don't mean that's how it's supposed to sound or look." He's like, so it's the cultural piece that people are missing. It's just like it's okay to be different. But what you should be doing is galvanizing more people of color to go into the fields to do this instead of you always relying on books, relying on old literature that is based in racist practices that don't exist for us.
so how do you approach working with working with youth in mental health?
Honestly, you just got to be yourself. Kids will tell you who you are right away. They don't have a filter. I think I saw something on TikTok the other day. It was like a 5-year-old kid. So she's like, I don't want to be fat when I grow up. He's like, well, do you know anybody fat? And the kid was looking at. I was like, I'm looking at you. Kids are so real about. They know when you're being real. They know when you're being fake. They just want you to be. If you are the corny guy, be the corny guy.
Right.
If you like to tell dad jokes, tell the dad jokes. If you got style, be the guy with style. They just want you to be consistent in your character. So I think that's the biggest thing. Just be consistent, be clear and concise in what you're doing, and you'll be fine. Uh, but there are too many kids that I've worked at too many inner city schools who kids of color will sit there and say, "Well, I told Mr. DeVoe, I gave him the N-word pass. He a brother. He ain't like them. He like us. He a brother." And like, okay, but he's not gonna say the N-word, but I understand the passion behind it. I understand that you're accepting this man because he's showing you that he understands you. He's being there for you. He's supporting you. And he's just being real with you. That happens far often than not, and people don't want to talk about it.
I have another question here. I'll put it on the screen. Um, the question is, what do you think about emotional intelligence? Do you use it intentionally in your support of young people?
Yes, you have to. You have to be able to help them not only regulate their emotions, but be able to see the forest through the trees. You have to be able to have real conversations about your meter level. You know your triggers. You know what happens when this looks like when certain people say a certain thing and when this is going on. What are you choosing to do in that moment? Are you going to keep yourself in that area? Are you going to remove yourself? Are you going to know, hey, that's not how I feel. That's not what's going on with me. How are you gauging yourself? And I'm big on a 30, 60, 90. You can apply it anywhere. How are you checking your ability to see your own self in different things that you're doing? How are you able to see your growth and where you are? And I feel like people think emotional intelligence is, oh, someone is just you're just smart. You know how to just speak the language. No, you need to be able to understand, not only articulate it, but put it into practice. I think that's the part that people miss. Just because you can regurgitate some information or regurgitate um, uh, regurgitate the meaning of something, or just you can say it, doesn't mean you're actually applying it. I've talked to too many staff members. I'm like, we have this thing called the care model. Oh yeah, I know the care model. I do it all the time. Okay, well, show me. Give me an example. They can't do it. They don't even realize. I'm like, okay, well, I was here today. I saw you provide the care model 3 times. These are the areas I saw it in, and these are adults. So imagine now kids. These are adults who supposedly have it together, have done the work, have done these things. Now we're trying to apply that with their kids. I think it is huge. I think it is needed, and kids will put it into practice. And they'll once they get a hang of it, they'll throw it back in your face.
Mhm.
They'll say, "Well, hey, well, Mr. Ty, well, that's not what you taught me. That's not what we do. Why'd you do that? Why was it okay for you to do it?" They will, and I think that's the beautiful thing about youth and kids. They gonna tell you exactly what it is. Nah, wait, that's different. You be telling me all the time, but that one staff member get on your nerves too. See, now you know how I feel. See, he makes me feel how you feel. Like so, it's like have those conversations.
Um, what strategies do you use to create safe spaces for healing?
I think, I think the one thing I'm big on is climate and culture of any institution that I'm at, and it's the ability to. People always say open door policy. It's bigger than an open door policy. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. I think most people aren't willing to be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is like you don't need to tell everybody your deep dark secrets. You don't gotta tell everybody all that other stuff. But what you can do is just be able to give them the space to say, "Hey, I see that you're going through some things. Here's something struggling. This is what this could look like. This is what's going on. But I'm here for you when you need to talk. I'm here for you if you need to have a conversation." But I think the bigger part about that is you have to practice it. When someone tells you a story and shares something with you, hey, like, hey, how's your family doing? Being able to come back 2 weeks later, like, I know you said your daughter started basketball. How's she doing? How's she dealing with this? How's that going on? I think it's the little things that people look at. And I think the other thing, too, when it comes to that safe space, it's consistency. Sometimes it's the little things to do with just foundation. They just want to know you're going to show up. And I had a staff member recently, in the last couple of months, tell me, she said, "You are the first director that we've had that actually is here in the building and do the work with us." Because people that they don't want to trust you. They're going, okay, is he really gonna be in the trenches with us, or is he gonna be stuck in his office? Is he really gonna be out here, or is he just sending emails? What kind of leader are you gonna be? And there's plenty of times when kids, I'm like, I'm in their room with them. What are we doing? How are we doing today? So I heard you had an issue over the weekend. What was going on? Tell me how that was. Now let's come back. How do we repair those relationships? Just because you have a blow up or you have an argument with somebody, or sometimes you take it too far when you say something, it doesn't mean you can't repair the relationship. It's your choice to do it. And so many times people don't want to repair that. That you might not even know why somebody was really mad with what you said. Sometimes they don't got nothing to do with you. It could have been you triggered something in them that's their own personal issue that you have no idea about, but your tone was off, how you said it, what you said triggered them. So I think just in general, just that climate piece is huge. When I come in, I say hi to everybody. I make sure what's going on, with checking with everybody. And I do that all the time. And I think that's just what they're needing. Sometimes they just want to know you're there. You don't have to do extra stuff. They just want to know you are present.
Here's a response to your emotional intelligence answer. I put it on the screen. He says, exactly, perfectly said. Dr. Hank Clemens says emotional intelligence is not just a term, it is a practice.
Yeah.
And so, my next question for you is, how do you measure success in your therapeutic work?
It has to be qualitative and quantitative. It can't just be I'm looking at data points of I saw behaviors decrease. How are they interacting on a day-to-day basis? How are they engaging in therapy? Those are all great things that you can look at. But the things that aren't theirs, well, I've seen this kid smile almost every single day. That's not something that's on any test or any blueprint that they have. Just kid smiling. This kid has opened up and talked about so many different topics that I didn't even know he was even into. Now everyone just wants to focus on the trauma, the problem. Okay, what's going on with his family? How did it impact him? Okay, he was abused. How did that impact him? Did you get to know the kid? Is the kid now, is he wants to now go outside more. He wants to play basketball. He wants to try all these different things. Those things aren't always put in. They might be in the notes somewhere buried, but when we look at just data points and questionnaires, that's rarely ever there. We do a suicide risk. It's just how many times you think about it. How often does this happen? Did you think about it in your life? It's just you're just doing a checklist. The checklist system doesn't work. How are you impacting them? So the art, which you talked about earlier, kids love to do art. They love to create. So every day I have kids showing me a new song that they wrote, a new beat that they made, a new shirt that hey, I want to put this on a shirt. That's not part of anyone's true evaluation. We are still stuck in the time period of I'm just gonna do this DSM-5 type of questioning. I'm just gonna do this. These Ohio skills tests. Cool. What else is happening for that youth to show growth?
That's a good question. Let's transition over to your work as an author. Can you tell us what inspired the Climate, Culture, and Consciousness series?
That actually started in Boston. It first started off as a joke. I was just doing like little commentary about stuff that was happening in school. Added some artwork with it, and then people was like, "You're a really good writer. Can you just keep this kind of stuff going? Can you?" And they were like, "You can actually make a series out of it." So it was part of so once I was doing that, I was asked to do a DEI project. And that was just, interviewing people, interviewing students, parents, teachers, other providers in the school, and just telling their stories. So we do a lot of focus groups, asking them questions about what they're seeing is going well, what's not going so well, how are parents treated, how they feel like they're not treated. We had parent council team meetings. We had all these different things that kind of capture this data that we're talking about. Um, and it was just the nitty gritty of what's going on in the school. The first book is just more of an introduction of what the term poverty pimping means.
Okay.
Um, and that was just based off of how people were feeling in the community. They feel that they are being pimped. The school is pimping the kids. They're lying about, their numbers, their grades. They're just trying to get resources and money into the school. The resources and money aren't really being used for the kids. It's being used to, line the pockets of educators. Providers are coming in the building. They're acting like they're here to help. They want to have that white savior complex, but yet they're causing more bad than good. So everyone talked about those different levels, but even talking to providers, how they feel the stress of, I got to reach these numbers, I got to reach this quota, I got to do this somehow, this is where I'm at. So you can even see how they're supposed to come in and do these things, but they got stakeholders who are holding them to a different task that's going against what the school actually needs. What's the point of coming into the school if you're going to you have your own agenda while you're trying to get information or data? You're not trying to give us support and help. You're trying to figure out how we can probably close down this school so we can build this up. We got something good over here, but we don't want it for the black and brown kids. We want it for these white and Asian kids over here. So they just line stuff up in a way that's always hurting people. And the one thing that came out of it from everybody, black, white, or brown, in this particular situation was that it was they felt that all their resources were being taken, removed because they wanted to use it for a different population. They wanted to use it for a different school. And the school was just being targeted because they had other people who were just pouring so much money into it, but wanted to give it to other people. So I think that was like the gist behind it. But every book is different. Every book has a different topic. Every book has a different form of artwork. One of the books talks about the experience of a black man being accused uh, of being accused of being too close to some staff members, to kids in the school, a particular young lady. Um, and this story came about from a parent. So this teacher who did not like this other staff member who was doing great work in the community, great work with the kids, went to a parent who she thought was also white, didn't realize this parent was Spanish, and went to her and kind of just whispered in her ears like, "Hey, I would just be careful about that teacher. This seems just a little close," and kind of just walked off. She had no idea that the parent she talked to was close with the educator that she was calling into question. This parent called them right away and said, "Listen, I don't know who this lady is, but she's out to get you, and she tried to make a conversation about you and her daughter. I'm not gonna say any names." And the teacher didn't realize that this person has been a father figure almost in this kid's life because he was there for middle school. She was in trouble all the time. He was just one of the behavior techs. So when you're in school and you're a social behavior tech, we get all the kids and they gravitate towards certain people. Now she was happy that, oh, she's gonna be in 10th grade, it's a new school. Didn't realize that this teacher was transferred in, and it was the happiest this girl has been since she's been in the school. She felt like she had somebody. She started opening up more, but this teacher had no idea that he already had a 3, 4 year relationship with this child. And you said it to a mother, and the mother was like, she raised holy hell about it. She was like, "No, I'm going to the principal. This makes me feel uncomfortable. Is this just how you treat people? Why would you do this to somebody? Like, perception is everything." So that was a story that I do tell and I elaborate more on, but the stories are so vastly different. Um, Even we had a Jewish teacher. He talked about his experience in Texas, and how all the kids loved him. And the minute that white conservatives found out that he was Jewish, they took all the kids out of his class. This man is pale white. He has blue eyes and brown hair.
Mhm.
So you didn't even know. You didn't even know anything. But the minute you found out, they, were-
Mhm.
he came to Boston and experienced the same exact thing with black and brown people.
Mm.
His story was so. I'm like, can I tell your story? This is so different that I would have never even thought. So
Mm.
every story is very different. That's a synopsis, but there's more to it. But every story is very different.
Mm. So, how does research inform your writing?
You have to have a basis of why you're doing it. You have to have some. You have to have something to look up. Um, and if you're not, and if it's not something that's already been published or even out there that you want to base it off to have like evidence-based practices, I would say, then you have to have the focus groups. You have to create the data while you're doing it. It's very important to have your own research base of I'm going to interview these subjects of people. This is what's going on. This is how this looks. And from the results, whatever the results are, because in your mind, you're always going to have what you're looking for, the narrative that you've created. But does the narrative that you've created or your thought process match the data? And that's the point of why you want to have that research behind you for your own personal research and try to tie it to research that has already been done over the years.
Mm. So, what themes do you explore in the Poverty Pimpin' collection?
Oh, I gave you some of them. I'm sorry. So I would just say it's more relationship based. How people interact with each other when they like or dislike people. As you know, people will make excuses for people they like. And they can know this person is not doing the right thing. This person is not, he's not really teaching, or she's not really teaching. She's coming to work late. But because this person is so well liked by other people just because they're the fun person or they do whatever else, they make excuses for that person. And the other thing that was big on it is like the people who do the real work are the ones who are treated the worst, the ones who actually the kids gravitate towards, or the teachers who are actually teaching, they keep giving them the harder kids, the harder kids, the harder kids, and not holding accountable the teachers who are weak in certain areas, are weak in classroom management, are weak in being able to handle kids with behaviors. We can't pile on to the people because then now they're going to be burned out. And now you're going to have another person who's going to come in who doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the skill set because you burned out this person because you refused to work or teach with this person who needed the learning, who needed the education behind it to be better. And we're not giving them those supports or holding people accountable.
Mm. So, just let me just ask you this because there was two things there that kind of like stuck out to me. And the what I like is when you come up with the concept of how each of your stories are different and you're telling these stories. Do you in your book, do you basically make it all real with these characters, or do you change anything about the characters so that the identities are not known? But also, when publishing these stories, how do you get the people that you're telling the stories? Do you have to get them to agree to let you do this?
Yes. So all the stories that I've written, I've had all the participants say that they were okay with me writing these stories, and I always give them the copies beforehand. I
Mhm.
always show them this is what. So this is my. I have the creative license. I have a way with words. I put it together, but also I let them know up front. You might be the overarching story behind it, but there are other little lessons that are coming that I'm pulling from all the other people that I interviewed. So this might be the one story about this young man being accused of something, but in that story, there's probably 25 other lessons that had nothing to do with that main character that was based off of this parent and this other teacher issue that they had. So I sprinkle in other things of that nature in the story. So it covers all bases, but the overarching theme might be this one thing. But man, you interview 100 people, there's hard to get everybody's little points in there. So you try your best in every story out of the nine that there are good 20 to 30 other pieces of representation of other issues that were happening in that community.
Oh wow. So how do you balance raw storytelling with the academic rigor? And before you answer that question, I mean, with that question, because I mean, this is like the real meat and potatoes. So, how does that work? How do you get that?
So I actually we're talking about the books, but prior to that, we had our kids were struggling with ELA, and they had this other skills class that wasn't really being working. And over the summertime, I wrote 100 short stories. I wrote that with complete with vocab, restorative circles, journaling prompts, affirmations, you name it, put it all together for the kids. And like lesson plans for the teachers. So each, if it was a short story, had 2 or 3 lesson plans, and had everything else to go with it. Um, and the reason you said rigor, and I like that. The reason why it was so important because kids were like, I don't want to hear about Othello. I don't want to hear about Romeo and Juliet. I got DCF. I got police over here. I've seen a couple raids. Can I have stories that I can see myself in or anime? They want to know about Dragon Ball Z and whatever other One World and some other stuff that I don't know about. I gotta still do my research on.
Right.
So I just combined like all those fantasy type of stories and put it into one, but talked about what they were feeling in real life, what they were going through relationship wise. Um, and the one big thing that stood out for me is I had a group of 4 girls. They were so smart. They're like, Mister, I'm doing work that I did in 6th grade. I'm in 10th grade. I'm bored
Okay.
in class.
Okay.
The kids were holding the teachers accountable, saying, "This is trash. You need to do better. I'm not going to be in class because this makes no sense. Why am I doing this? You're not teaching. You're writing something on the board." And there was pushback. So it went from, which is the funniest thing in the world. It went from, who does this guy, Mr. Ty, think he is, to they were like, no, read it. So then they would read it to like, this is actually really good, but this is too hard for our kids. Our kids can't understand this. They can't do this. So they would push back in that way. And the kids were like, no, we already read 4 or 5 of these stories because he shared them with us. But the stories were so, there was a, and again, like these are high school students. So I even would reference like, just because, this is we're doing for the school. I would reference other points of things that they've seen within other movies or comedians or other people say, just to keep them engaged. Like we had epidemic of kids getting high. You think I'm not going to reference Friday, the movie Friday, or Ha Ha, or some other stuff that they've seen and talked about to keep them engaged in the conversation? Yeah, it's a funny line. Now they're engaged. Like, oh, this is actually funny. This is okay. There's some stuff in here. Okay, how do we keep them engaged? We can't keep doing the same old, and expecting change.
Well, I gotta say this. So wait. So when you do this, are you also like an educator as well?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. I was the director of student services when I was in Boston. So I was putting together all this stuff. I brought in community providers. So just anything to help support how we can improve just student relations for our kids was always the goal.
So, what role does literature play in cultural transformation?
I think it's the social commentary of that time. So it could be a Harry Potter book, but you can relate to Voldemort being Trump. You can relate to anybody being whoever. How do you relate it in a creative way to keep people engaged? Whether it's fantasy, whether it's real life, whether it's a hard, gritty story, whether it's about rap, whatever the case is, it's a social commentary about what's happening. X-Men was about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Who do you think Martin Luther King was? You think it was Professor X? You think it was Magneto? So it's like, how do we have those engaging conversations to talk about the reality? So the mutants were people of color. They were being treated differently, and they had gifts. And what do they always say? Oh, well, black athletes, they're better. They're faster because they got extra muscle in their calf. I've never heard that before in my life. I had to laugh. Like, we just have extra muscles in our calves now?
Don't make me laugh.
But it's like you have to, they create these stories that just go against fiction. And then one person told me, well, we know we bred you guys. That's why, slavery made you guys all the athletes. You don't think we were athletes if we were over in Africa, running and doing everything we got to do? You think we just all of a sudden we came here and we did hard labor? That's what made us good at sports.
you, again, see, that's something for that's gonna be another show because that right there. I mean, I want to say that I admire you for being chilled with someone saying that to you. But I can promise you, I'm much older than you. But believe me, they wouldn't have no teeth saying something like that to
100% with you.
me.
It took me a lot to get where I'm at, brother.
uh, how do you hope your books impact readers?
I hope it gives them a blueprint of just beginning to want to understand, beginning to want to question more. Stop looking at things from a superficial lens, um, and just be able to want to dig a little deeper. I think we always looking at just the tip of the iceberg when the bulk of what's under is happening underwater is underneath. You're seeing the most superficial layer of somebody, and why are you judging it based off of that? I think so. I hope these stories, black, white, brown, Haitian, Spanish, Dominican, there's a lot of different cultures in the Boston area. I think that was the beautiful part about it. Heavy Cape Verde population as well. Um, and just being able to look at things very differently. And I think one of the biggest thing is every culture faces the same kind of issues. So when I say that, I don't mean anything about black and brown. We definitely have it harder. But if we have a crackhead, guess what? You got white trash who got no teeth living in a trailer park. However you want to categorize it, whatever you got to look at it. If you want the rednecks who live in the swamps, whoever you, there is a lower level at every level for any culture. So you can be able to pick and choose certain different things. We might have crack, you got heroin, you got meth. It's no, we all facing different things. And I think the biggest thing that I hope people, when they really look at stuff, is looking at it like capitalism and racism are the same thing and it doesn't even matter. This is my personal opinion. No one has to believe what I'm saying. But what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, if the goal is to be rich, at some point in time, you're going to be the lowest man on the totem pole. It's just waiting your turn. That's all you're doing. So now we have people in the uproar. I know it's a different topic. So now it's hurting white people for the very first time. So now I'm driving down the street and I see old white ladies. Look like they're in the 70s, 80s. We need SNAP. We need to do this. We need get Trump out of office. Oh, now you care. But we've been telling you this. Trump ain't the first person. We've been telling you this for years. Now it's at your front doorstep. Now it's a problem. Now it's an uproar. But you should have known it was coming to your doorstep anyway. At some point in time, they were gonna get to your doorstep. They're taking away Medicare. They're taking away Medicaid. That's you. Who are the most people on welfare? White women. That is y'all. We find a way to make it work. We might have different get paid underneath it, whatever else, but y'all actually benefit from these benefits. Us, it's not happening most of the time. We're
Right.
on wait lists. We don't get the help. We're always struggling. We got these medical bills that we can't pay for.
Mhm.
You get all these supports and you still can't make it work.
Mhm. Oh wow. Ooh, boy, see that's some good truth right there. That's some good truth. Um, what challenges did you face writing 9 volumes?
Honestly, none. I, I
Really?
think I think for me, I get into a groove.
Mhm.
And when it hits me, I have to create it, I have to write it. So I had to write all 9 books first. And then I had to go back and create the artwork for it. But what I like to do, why I say it's easy, is that honestly it's dense with language, it's rich. Um, but honestly, I'm big on short stories. I think the biggest bang for your buck. And nowadays, when I'm looking at how kids react to TVs, they need stimuli every 6 seconds, every 30 seconds. They need something new to be happening. So we can't rely on these books that are 400 pages. So
Mhm.
how do we get them hooked in our seats right now from beginning to end? So I just write in a way that's probably 5 to 7 pages total,
Mhm.
but the artwork gets it to be 90 pages. Because every one sentence or 2 sentences has a piece of artwork that matches exactly what's being said. So you got
Okay.
to sit and you got to look at it. You have to go through it. So if this says I'm not for sale, I'm being exploited, cool. This artwork is going to match that not for sale feeling, what that looks like, how that feels. And I think what's powerful about that is when you actually. So I started recently, and I'll send you one. I had some of my coworkers. I had them just read some of the lines from my book, and I just put the artwork with it. So don't even you know what? You're not gonna read it. You everyone's complaining about reading. Cool. Listen to the words and then just watch the visual representation of it go by. So now it's like a little cartoon movie that you're watching. Everything hits, everything has a reason, everything has a meaning behind it. I don't want to waste words. Why why do we need 400 words to get the point across?
Wow. Oh wow. That's so I mean, so you've always been artsy, I see.
Yes, yes, always. And I got that from my mom. I got it honest.
Wow. How do you use writing as a form of activism?
I think I said it earlier, social commentary. I'm big on that. I think that's one of the things that makes us special as an artist is that we are artists, musician, a storyteller. I you had asked me this before. I love James Baldwin. I love the rawness, the authentic nature of it, but the truth behind it. That there, and I think that's just one of his most common phrase things that people use. But there's so much truth in it. There is so much rage, and it has to be controlled because we know what it looks like and we know the results of it. Even if it's justified, even if it makes sense as to why this is happening, the result of what how we respond is always going to be treated so much differently than what somebody else does. A
Yes.
white person could do this. They could yell, scream. They can act a whole fool. They could push somebody, hit somebody. You're gonna give them 10 times. You're gonna give them 10 chances. Oh well, that's how what I used to hear from people. Oh, that's just how she is. That's just how he is. Yeah, until he shoots up a school. Then what are we saying? Oh, now he had all the mental health issues. Why didn't we address it the first time we saw it?
Mhm.
But you're mad at us for reacting so strongly when we've seen this happen 10 times before. You've seen this person do this to me. But once I respond after the 10th time, now I'm a monster. I'm an animal. I'm uneducated. I have all these issues. No, you've been poking and prodding me this entire time, and I finally responded.
Mhm. Don't poke the bear too long.
Yep.
What advice would you give aspiring authors?
Just do it. I think that's the biggest thing. I heard something the other day. I think it was on the Joe Button podcast, and they were talking about why musicians fail. They fail because of the silence when they're not getting the respect or they're not getting people aren't reading their stuff. Just keep creating. It's going to happen. Just because they miss it the first time, don't mean by the 20th one that you do, they're gonna have to go back to the very first one, like, oh my God, this guy's been dope. This one, I've been dope. I've been doing this. Just do it. At some point in time, you can't give up. Just keep writing it. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Everything takes time. I think the one thing that I think people struggle with is they say, "Oh, this person was an overnight sensation." No, you just didn't see me when I was in the working in the gym. You didn't see me how many times I took the shot. You didn't see how many times I had to practice this free throw. You saw the end result and you saw something happen that you felt was too fast. But I've been putting in 6 or 7 years of doing this. So when it finally does happen, to you it felt like it was overnight. To me, I remember when I was eating ramen noodles, when I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day. You're just seeing me now in the spotlight.
Wow. So, what future projects are you working on?
Right now, I have my first art fashion show that's on next Saturday. I'm showcasing Poverty Pimpin'. I have about 12 designers, um, and they're going to use my artwork, whether it's on their clothes or going to model with the artwork itself. And I'm just going to tell the story. I have an album, a soundtrack, I'll say, coming out. It's Poverty Pimpin' soundtrack. It's probably 16 songs, probably cut it down to 13, but 16 songs as of right now that goes with the imagery, goes with the artwork, goes with the storytelling of the event itself, and just dropping the books. I'm gonna keep doing art galleries, but I would say my future goal, I want to do short films. I want to be able to really put all my words into practice and show it at a different level with visual representation, with dialogue to go with it to compete.
Is this going to be like recorded anywhere or?
Yeah, yeah. So definitely record. I can send you some of the B-roll and some of the information from it. Yes. So we have probably about two videographers, several different photographers for the event. But yeah, we're gonna tell the story, and the goal is to I want to be able to do one every 4 months, because I have the stories that I want to tell, and giving people the opportunity to share their stories. I think I've done a good job with meeting with a lot of people and them just kind of liking my story, what I'm trying to accomplish, and kind of just being able to give their time and energy to support this. So I think that's been the amazing thing right now with the great brothers that I have, that are kind of putting the battery in my back and kind of helping me. So it's been a great thing to feel like you have a community.
Ooh, I know we far apart because you up in the Northeast and I'm down here in the Southeast. But if I could get any of that with your permission, I definitely would love to highlight, showcase, and post your work.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna be down your way over Christmas break. I already told you, I'm gonna come see
Oh
you.
yeah, that's right, you did. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
did.
absolutely, I will definitely send you the information. I'll send you all the stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's go to your work here as an artist. Um, and if you could tell us, how did you discover your passion for art?
Again, my mom, she when I was a kid, I used to want to be able to draw like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wanted to be able to draw the X-Men, all the gummy bears, all the stuff. And she could draw, and she would draw them for me. And I just started from there. I just started creating my own little characters, doing that. And that basically my mom. She drew my first several different examples of what I liked. And I just kept going from there and getting better with it. And then I kind of stopped like high school, college when I was playing football, and I didn't start back up again till the pandemic. So 2019, 2020, I started back up again, and here I am, 6 years later, and I'm really getting the ball rolling. I mean, this again, it's been about 5 or 6 years of getting to the point where I'm at right now,
Mhm.
and just trying to showcase where I'm at.
Okay. Oh man. Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I think, anytime and what you're doing, especially for those kids, is you're more than taking the bull by the horns because you're taking the things that you like. You've created a space and you've created situations and scenarios that more than just identify with them, but it also gives them the will to want to do some things that they want to do.
Yes,
And, that's a perfect example. And, what I'm learning though is that I've talked to several educators that's up there in the New England area. And I've got to say, y'all brothers up there are doing the thing.
we're trying. We're trying.
I gotta say it because I mean, it's like because I've got a lot that's coming on the show. And as as you're already here, and it's like, man, you know, people don't actually know that that there are the superheroes like you guys are actually there. So this is what makes this so important and makes your work so important because people need to know what you're doing.
Yes, thank you, and we need to have people like you who give us the opportunity to really spread what we're doing, and getting out there more and more communities. And I think it's important to highlight there's so many of us, but we're all so separated. We're all in our different silos. So I think once we all come together, that's going to be when everything is different. Because typically, you're probably two of three people in any school community that are really out there, really doing the work, have the ideas, trying to do that. You're getting met with resistance.
Yes.
Now, and I say this everywhere I go. If you give me 15 to 20 people out of 200, I can make magic happen.
Wow. 15 or 20, huh?
Yep.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Look, that's your superpower. I'm sorry, but look, they already say, look, we got these extra genes and stuff anyway. And you got that crazy Kennedy trying to make sure he kill us anyway. So
Yeah.
um what mediums do you work with that you work in most often? What medium?
I'm a pencil artist at heart. So pencil cholo style is me. But over the pandemic, I was trying to actually create my own first comic book that I still haven't sketched out. But I can't draw the same character in multiple different doing multiple different things. Um, so then that's not trying to do digital, and then I realized that I have an uncanny ability to kind of put things together in a digital framework in a piece. So I've been doing more digital art, but right now I'm gonna be doing my first live art, first live painting on December 16th called Reimagined, and um, Mark is the brother who runs it. And he's giving me the opportunity to do my first live piece, and it's going to be a piece about him, and I'm excited for it. I typically stay away from painting. I do love watercolor, um, but acrylic paints, I'm doing my first one, so I'm excited about how it's going to turn out, and I'll definitely give you a glimpse of it. I'll let you see what we come up with, and you can let me know how you feel about it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so you say you come down here on the 24th, though, you said, right?
What was that? On the 20? I'll be down there on the 26th, the day after Christmas.
Okay, great. Um, how does your art reflect social commentary?
Man, that's all I do. That's all I do, and I think that's why in the very beginning I was like, "God, you sure you want me? I still got some stuff I'm working on. The wrong person still might catch me on the right day." but honestly, that's all I do. I think I've always, in any situation that I've been in, I've always been pushing the needle that we could always do better, and these are the ways that we do it through telling the stories and learning from those mistakes. Um, so everything is a social commentary piece, whether it's a direct reflection of what's happening with our government, what's happening in our institutions and what we're doing, or just in our community. Just telling our story so that we can be better prepared on how to handle things and know when someone. I think I use the music industry of like how many artists were bamboozled by people who just took advantage of their artistry, didn't understand the language of contracts, didn't understand the language of business and how they were getting their royalties and how they were. The point of the social commentary is to show us how to have that resiliency and how to have that business ethics so that it doesn't impact us any further. Because that's really only the issue. We are the creative minds.
Mhm.
We need to understand the law behind it, what the law means, and how it impacts us. And if we are able to do that, we are so much further off. I'd rather see more people do law, go to law school, just so that we have more people who look like us that can help us in those situations.
Oh man, I have to amen that because that was my long thing. You look, I was like, I'm going back to law school because I didn't want to do a regular PhD. But it's like there was so much that was in between that time that I just decided not to even do it. But I mean, I'm not dead yet, so.
You're not dead yet, buddy.
Man, so look, I got all this going on, but it's a lot. But you're right about that because we definitely need more people to look like us,
Yep,
in law because we need to have those, have that chance of at least getting the opportunity of just having some rights there to
yes,
some extent, as best as
absolutely.
possible. What role does fashion play in your artistic expression?
Um, Again, it's just how we self-expression, how we identify, how we show up, how we look, how we feel. I think that's the biggest thing with fashion. If you look good, you feel good, is what they always say. So how do we feel good in our own personality and our own culture and how that represents us when we're walking down the street? How do we show up? I think that's for me the fashion piece. And I think the artwork people love just accents the beauty in our culture, accents the beauty in how we look, the beauty in the emotions behind it. And I think my artwork adds gets you to ask the question of what's happening in this picture. Sometimes I'm big on eyes, and just like I want the eyes to be piercing, so like almost like it's looking through you. And I think that's what draws people into my artwork when it is put on clothes and how they love how that feels and how it looks and drawing people in and the messaging behind it.
So how do exhibitions help you connect with communities?
Honestly, it's great with networking and meeting people and seeing the different thought processes. And I think people a lot of times they're very again I'm gonna say superficial. They see you one way because you post things. You might not be explaining everything. They just have a this made up idea of who they think you are. But I think when you come to the exhibition, you get to learn. You get to see the emotion behind it. What's behind the artwork? I think a lot of times people have made artwork just to make it, but what's the story behind it? And every piece of artwork has a story behind it. It wasn't I saw something cool and I just wanted to do it. No, it matches the tone and the feelings from anything that I write. So any piece of artwork has to have a meaning behind it. I'm not like again, I don't want to just write to write. I don't want to just create just to create. I want it to have substance. I want it to have meaning and have a lasting impact.
And so, what is your most memorable performance piece?
Probably two. Fallen Kingdom. It's six brothers looking over the capital, which is like crumbling, being destroyed. And they're just watching. They're watching it happen. And why it's important for me to show why they're watching it happening is because it's like, no, they're waiting for it to be destroyed, to be, to run its course, and then now we know what we got to do. They're just waiting. We're just sitting there like, no, we see all the destruction, we see all the chaos, because we've been seeing it for years. We're gonna let you destroy, do what you gotta do, destroy it, bring it down to the ground, and we just gonna repair it and build it in our in our image, in our likeness. Because we see how when it was you, we saw what happened. Now it's time for us to do what we need to do.
So, how do you use art to elevate marginalized voices?
It's all our stories. Again, it's the representation. Again, we see the government trying to take out just normal facts about history, American history. It's not Black history. It's not Black History Month. It's American history. It's what happened. Why are we trying to act like these things didn't happen? So it's important for us to tell these stories so that again, we were storytellers. We passed down stories from the ages. We didn't write everything down because you took written language from us, doing all these other things. And how do we do that? This is our version of our storytelling of how do we learn from the mistakes of the past? How do we tell it? We tell it. My mom, my grandfather, hands at 10 and 2.
Mhm.
Yes sir, no sir. You just want to get home.
Yep.
Yes, you already. He's itching to cause a problem. He's itching to pull a gun. Don't give him a reason, regardless if you know that they're there for the wrong reasons. What they're doing, their behavior. This is where we're at. That's all.
And so, what challenges do artists face in balancing truth and marketability? Now, in asking this question, because like most artists, normally, they're always going to give you a truth. But so, just in when you're in answering that question, could you also tell us if it depends upon the artist and how in depth he is with that truth?
Um, I think so many times people are too scared, and I understand the marketability piece, but your difference and your uniqueness is what's gonna sell. How you show up, how you represent, it's what's sell. And Basquiat hit very different.
Yes.
It wasn't real people, it was very all over, very different. You just gotta tell your story and don't be scared to tell your story. Don't be scared of you don't know just because it looks crazy to you or it looks different for you, you don't know how much that's gonna be worth or what somebody else is gonna see in it, the value in it. And I think that's the thing, just like again, even with writing, just do it. You don't know how that's going to evoke somebody. All it takes is one person to buy something of yours one time, and they have a market. They have this, and they just got to show the representation. It just takes one. You don't need to have all these different people. You want to get your information out there, but when you see these people have this one, it was a good story. Uh, this group of people, they did a mock, Adidas commercial. It wasn't real. They just did it, put it up. It was based off of ASAP Rocky, and it got so many views and likes that he actually called them, and now they are doing a deal with Adidas, and he's doing their actual commercials. They just took a chance. They're artistic. They did a video about it. ASAP Rocky ended up calling him, and now they're doing the work, and they made their own commercials with it. Again, it just takes one. Just do the work, create the art, create the stories. Just write it. It just takes one.
How do you inspire youth through art programs?
Again, it's just telling their story. I'm big on like, what's your story? What's your truth? What's your why? And they get to do that through art.
Mhm. So, how do you see art as a tool for justice?
That's the social commentary. Are you going to use it for good or bad? Use it for good or evil? Um, Again, telling those stories about resilience, but also about failure. Every story is not going to have a good ending, but there's morals to the story of what you need to learn by. And I think that's the piece that's missing with people. Everybody wants this happy ending. Sometimes the ending isn't happy or the ending that you thought it would be. You're not always going to get with the girl. You're not always going to have the guy. But what you did was learn more about yourself. You came away with yourself. on how you could do better.
So let's move over to your Black history influences. When we talked about this, you told me James Baldwin, Marcus Garvey, and W.E.B. Du Bois were the most influential people in your life and your career. Why is James Baldwin such an important influence in your life?
Um, just his ability to write, and well, I'm gonna say for all three of them, their ability to write and lead in a way that could galvanize people with intellect. You might not like everything that everybody was doing. I know a lot of people are gonna go with Marcus Garvey, but how do you impact? How does your leadership? How does your vision? How does your storytelling? How does your ability to captivate an audience and then be able to resonate not just with people who look like you, but across the board?
Mhm. Well, see, when it comes to James Baldwin, I love James. I've got some of his
Yeah.
books. I don't have all of his books. But hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay. There we are.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have all of his books, but I've got some of his books. And when I read his books, now especially I will have to I just say this because Giovanni's Room sticks out most to me is because I think that's the only book I know of all the books I've read that's way back at that time frame that sounds like today.
Yeah. To your point, I think that's the beauty of social commentary. Even with, I'm not comparing myself to. I think they are living legends, and I would love to be on that level by the time I pass from this earth. But I think the beautiful. My first book came out last year, and I just started having people read. I just had the idea, like told you earlier. Can you just read this? I'm put some music behind it. I'm put some the visuals piece behind it, and everything that I wrote last year was exactly what was happening in that time period this year. You never know what you're writing for and how it resonates. I think that's the power of impact. Does your work or will your work and your words stand the test of time? And I think that's what people just need to do. Just that's why it's so important. Just to create, just to write. And you might not get all your flowers while you're here, but you need to have those lessons be passed down.
What lessons from Baldwin's writings resonate most with you?
Honestly, it's my grandmother. I'm not gonna say it on live, but I would just say I'm gonna try to say it in a PG way. uh, it's the ability to cut through the noise, the 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 white noise of people just chattering, and just get straight to the point, but in a way that gives you a visceral response, in a way that it touches you. The fact that I can go back and look at clips, it felt when he was talking on his platform, it felt like he was talking through everything. And it just hit you. I want to be able to command that type of a attention when I'm speaking in a way that and it wasn't there wasn't emotion, but you felt it like there was everything was emotional.
Right. Mm. How does Marcus Garvey's vision of empowerment shape your work?
I just, community. I think you have to. Okay, so I think you have to be. I think what people misunderstand, they want to say, oh, nice guys finish last. Like you don't want to be a nice guy. You want to be a good man. You don't want to be a nice guy. You want to be a good man. And a good man holds people accountable. A good man leads with results. A good man is galvanizing the people. A good man has strategy and has vision. So that's how you're gonna get people to follow you. If you can't get people in your own household to follow you, you're not going anywhere else. So
Mm,
how do you lead in all facets of what you're doing? How do you show up? And again, are you going to get in the trenches? People want to know, are you going to be walking down the street with me? Are you going to be in the battle with me? Or are you just talking from a high up place just because of a position of power that you have? And I think people respect that so much more when you are actually, no, we going into this battle together. Everything that I'm saying, I'm gonna do with you. So if we go down, we all go down together. We die as one.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what role does Garvey's emphasis on self determination play in your artistry?
Um, I, I feel like I'm repeating myself sometimes, so I apologize. I just feel like again, it's your path, your vision, what you're doing. So when someone's looking at the piece of artwork, did you see it through from beginning to end? Did you convey that message? Did you leave every? Did you overturn every stone? When you eat everything off the plate. You don't leave
Yes.
anything.
Right.
And that's when it comes to that self-determination. That's you. I think it was Cat Williams like this is esteem of yourself. How you feel about you. It's not about how anybody else feels about you. How do you feel about yourself? How do you go on that forward path to just getting what your needs are met? And are you willing to take away the things that aren't working well for you? Are you willing to let go of this people that's nonsense over here? Are you willing to let go of this things that is hurting your habits? What is your habits on a daily basis? What is your consistency? I think that's the biggest thing for me.
So, how has W.E.B. Du Bois influenced your perspective on education and culture?
I think that's why I am the way I am today. I think just the way I write, even with my writing is like Langston Hughes esque and just poetry through storytelling. I think it for me, it's about connection. It's about how are you able to have the right words, the right systems in place to get the best results. And being able to have those conversations, we have to have education, but are we having the right education?
Right.
That's the issue. Is the so when we're not really reading about, I'm just going to use this as a talking point, but in slavery, the inhumane ways in which they tortured people is what they leave out of the books because they wanted to make it seem like, oh, it wasn't as bad. Oh, they had food, they had their own places. No, that's not what was happening. How do we have those realistic conversations, and how does that impact us? So you wanted to have us behind the eight ball in the education system, so that we are always be in the gap. So we're always behind. And then you cause these pandemics every 100 years to cause an even greater gap. So if we were already the school to prison pipeline says we're at second and grade, second and third grade is when they decide how many more prisons they're going to build. So education is what it's needed. But if you continue to move that gap in literacy, continue to not give us the resources we need in our own communities, what are we going to do? And then when we wanted that, you didn't want to, you wanted to end segregation, but we had Tulsa. We had all these thriving towns and cities. We had Seneca. You destroyed those places that were thriving.
Yep.
So when we are educated and we are doing all these things, you come through and you bomb it and you take it away from us. So you have to have that education, and you have to be able to tell those stories and connect on a way that we know we have to build our own school system within a school system.
Oh boy.
Anybody who works in a school system knows how that works. But all that is what white supremacy does, right?
Yeah.
So they're ingrained in police officers, they're ingrained in mental health, they're the judges, they're the attorneys. They just get to blend in. We're just black. So we can't blend in with you.
Mhm.
But you're in every system, and you have these outlandish laws, and you have these judges who give people these different sentences, and no one questions it. Why did
Look, it's based on a system too. Don't forget that,
yeah.
a point system.
So again, it's all those areas. So when it comes to that, we have to be able to educate ourselves on our own on top of learning this crooked system.
But and just as you say that though, also, I think it's also important that people understand that the reason why these folk are at this point is because they are in control of this system, which is why I think we should be working on building our own system and forget about this.
I agree with you. I say I even sports. I think we got enough millions and billionaires that we could do have our own sports teams, have our own
Yeah.
stuff, and where are they gonna go?
Can I just tell you this? A lot of those guys have got that slave mentality.
Yes, Yes.
They're not trying to leave that. They want to do that, and they want to do this under someone else instead of doing their own, which is
Yep.
so strange.
Yep. They got master syndrome. Yep.
What connections do you see between Du Bois' work and your own?
I don't know. I'm getting there. I think for me, I'm still finding my way and my path. I think there are lessons to be learned. I think there are things that you take away from that. But I still think in my own respect, I think I'm not going to be able to really enter that until I fully tell my story.
Mhm.
So I think when I fully tell my story, I will be able to look at all the pieces, connect all the dots, and I think that's what I'm loving about this next chapter in my series is solely focused on me.
Mm. So, how do these three figures collectively inspire your mission?
Um, I think for me it's just very simple as just want to create change in a way that's lasting, um, and in a way that allows for growth from somebody else.
Mm.
Um, I think that's part of the question that you asked before. I think I am supposed to spark the next geniuses, spark the next group of people that are going to come along and take the torch a lot further than me. And so I think that's why I can't really fully answer that last question you asked. But I
Mhm.
think that's part of my mission is like I'm supposed to open the wave of having those dialogues, having those conversations, so that the next person can go and take it and run.
So, how do you integrate their teachings into your therapy practice?
I think it's just the small things. You just add stuff in here and there, and it's not just. I think for me, one of the biggest things about that is you have to pick your points. I'm working with kids, so it might not be exactly what they're saying or the way they're saying it, but using examples through a LeBron James, through Jay Z, through and just saying like these are very similar teachings that people before them came with, but you have to be able to meet them where they are. I think for us, it's more of a historical reference and context. We're saying like, I need you to read up on this person. I need you to know these things. Then how are you going to take that and apply it to what's happening now? How do you see them within the leaders that we have now, or do you not see it in it because we don't have the leaders that we once had? I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest thing when it comes to that.
So, what message from Baldwin, Garvey, or Du Bois do you share most often with others?
I think it's easy because I work with boys. It's just the anger and the rage piece.
Mhm.
Um, because as young black and brown, we have a lot of kids who have a lot of anger issues
Mhm.
and don't know what to do with it and it's displaced. So how do you take the anger? How do you take that rage and use it in a constructive manner to do better? So I think that's just in itself. That's what it is.
And final question for you. How do you see their influence shaping the future of Black leadership and creativity?
I think I think we are getting to that point where we are having people have those conversations. I think the thing that I see that makes it hard sometimes is that we still have that master syndrome that you talked about, where we're still putting other people down. We're attacking each other versus lifting each other up. Like I like Mark Lamont Hill. I
Mhm.
like how he handles himself. I like what he talks about, and that he's genuinely just real about what's happening. And I think there's other people that are like that that people don't even look at who do the same thing. So I think that's one of the biggest things of doing that.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you would like to leave for our audience? And also how they can connect with you via social media, tell them about your websites, all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. So it's the voice of the youth. The voice of the, and then the missing the second E, so youth, something like the youth, and that's on Instagram. The logo is the mock up of the public enemy symbol with the voice of the youth going through it. The voice of the youth on Facebook. And I'm Tyree Hughey. I'm the author and illustrator, and I will have my first series, Climate Culture and Consciousness. It's on Amazon right now. Um, and then I will be dropping my first soundtrack. My artist name is Sincere. And you can start following that page at Sincerely Yours on Instagram as well, and Sincere on Facebook.
The words of wisdom and encouragement.
Man, just do it. I know it sounds corny, maybe cliche. Just do it. Don't stop writing. Don't stop creating. Don't stop your thought process. Don't stop your ideas. Just let it out because you don't know what day that's going to happen. Something that I worked on 4 years ago is now something that's relevant today. So just finish your thought, do what you need to do because you don't know when that next idea, that next thing is going to hit. And then you're not going to realize what you've been writing might be your own manifesto.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. This was really great. I appreciate the time, and this was definitely worth doing. And
Thank
also,
you.
I hope that we could have you back on the show again. So I'll definitely tell you about that. Um, but for those of you that are watching out there on all of the channels that we stream, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications on our YouTube channels. I would appreciate if you would support us by doing that, please. Um, I hope that you guys took the message from Mr. Hewley very, very serious, and you also listened to the things that he was talking about because everything that he mentioned is more than just relevant. It's happening, and we have to do our part in order to make this better. I want to thank you guys for watching us tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow night for a Friday night special here on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I'm your host, Charles King. You guys have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you again, Tyree, and I'll be in touch with you.